Longtime campaign strategist and former Reagan political director Ed Rollins. Ed, you called the Walker campaign suspension accurately right here on the Fox Business Network. You were talking to Liz Clayman when you did it, and here we are this morning. He's out of the race.
Well, I'm sad that he's out of the race. He's an extraordinary governor, and he could have. He's one of the stars of our party. Unfortunately, money and a whole variety of things, but most of all, we're now in kind of a reality debate premise, and if you don't get the attention in those debates, you're not going to move forward, and it's hard to get attention when you got Donald Trump at the front, kind of taking shots at people, and it's hard to talk about public policy.
So if that's the issue, are we going to see another candidate drop out in days to come here?
You're going to see lots of these. There's 4 or 5.
Any predictions?
Well, I could go through the list and tell you who should drop out, but that's not my place to do.
Oh, come on, please.
It's about money, and are you real? You know, when you're 0% or 1%, you're not real. I mean, you may have had an extraordinary career as a governor somewhere, but Governor Perry was one of the best governors we had. He's gone. Governor Walker, one of the best. Some of the others who've been out of sight, out of mind.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you saying that this is happening because of Donald Trump in the race?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And I mean, he has dominated the news media. There's no voters voted yet. I mean, these polls, 444 people were measured in the CNN poll. Now, that doesn't mean it's not an accurate measurement where people are, but historically, you run these races. You win Iowa, you win New Hampshire, a very important place. You win South Carolina, you start gathering delegates, and people make up their minds in places like New Hampshire and Iowa late. They want to see the candidates. They want to feel the flesh. Now we have big national debates. You have a big poll after the debate, and people say, well, he won, he lost.
Does this make more room for a candidate like John Kucinich?
My sense is at the end of the day, it's still who can govern and who basically understands the process.
Sorry, John Kasich. I just talked to Jackie Kucinich.
Sorry,
it's early. I just thought to myself.
I knew who you were.
Okay.
John Kasich is an outstanding governor, and he is, he again hasn't got the attention in the debates that he will have, but he's going to hang in there. He comes from a very critical state. We can't win the presidency without winning Ohio. He's done extraordinary things there. So my sense is he's going to hang in there. Okay. He's not going to quit. He doesn't care what his numbers are, and that's very important.
We talked about having folks to my house, and we had over 260 people for the governor, and he was very, very well received. And you look at Scott Walker. I went to 2 or 3 events with him in New Hampshire just to see how the reaction was. People loved him in those small settings. He did exceedingly well, but as you referenced, in the larger debates, when you're seen by 20+ million people, he really did not shine, and I think that
one of our former colleagues here, who's one of the great debaters of all time, Mike Huckabee. Mike Huckabee gets no play in these debates. I mean, when I was chair of his campaign 8 years ago, he moved to the forefront because of debates. Nobody gets any time now except Donald Trump.
But Ben Carson got his own energy, shall we say, and he's still hanging in there.
I wouldn't say energy. What I would say is he's a lovely man, and the evangelical base of our party really likes him, admires him, as you should, because he's got a great story. But is he going to be a viable candidate for president at the end of the day? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, here, some of these, there's 2 or 3 governors going to hang in there, I think. But you've got to have money. You've got to control your spending. Part of Walker's problem was he had 90 people in Madison, Wisconsin, 4 people in Iowa. That's not a good.
And Ed, I just wanted to bring up, because there's been, you hear it often that if you've got a super PAC, you can stay in this race as long as you want to, regardless of how you do in the polls. That's not true.
Well, it's not true for the simple reason the foolishness of the super PAC, and I would much rather have $100 million and sitting in Malibu as Bush does. But you've got to have money to run your campaign. You've got to hire people, and you've got to have structure. It's fine for guys to give you $5 million, $10 million checks when you get down to the big game and you're spending money on television. But the day-to-day aspect of organizing in places where they're an Iowa and what have you, you've got to pay for that out of the federal election supported campaigns. And most of them have raised the super PAC. Walker still has money in his super PAC. Doesn't have money in his day-to-day account. And so you really have to harbor that money. You have to listen to professionals that have been in places like Iowa, New Hampshire, and elsewhere, because no matter what's happening now, those 2 states will change the dynamics dramatically.
We just showed a clip of Carly Fiorina on Late Night showing us her lighter side. She's made a rapid rise in the polls. She's done very well in the debates. How would you characterize her campaign?
She's a great debater. My sense is she was at the bottom of the pack. She got into the CNN by sort of the first debate where she did well in a smaller group. I think she will do well as she moves forward. But what she's going to find now as a front runner, she's going to get attacked. elect. She's going to basically have her record looked at in every way, shape, or form. And what people don't understand about the political process, if you've been a governor, you've been a senator, you know how the process works. And people may say, well, we don't want the insiders, we want the outsiders. Well, you can be an outsider, but you got to make it all work. And at the end of the day, that's what a governor has to do. He has to work with the legislature. A senator has to work with his colleagues. Government is, we don't elect a dictator here. Donald Trump, who wants to build a wall and promise you all these things he can do, at the end of the day, where's he going to get the money? How's he going to get Mexico to sign off on it? How are you going to do all these things?
Well, do you think this is going to be done before California, that we'll have a nominee before
I don't know
California?
that. California could easily, my sense is Trump's base will stay there. I mean, there's going to be 15-20% who aren't going to move away from him.
All right,
so you can win a lot of delegates with 20% of the vote. And so my sense is we could easily have, I've been doing this for 50 years, and everybody always wants the big convention. I was in the last big convention with Reagan in 76 and Ford. We could easily come to Cleveland and not have a nominee with a majority.
That's interesting.
We've been running a banner, Walker out, Scott Walker's out of the race. Who's next? You accurately called that he would be dropping out in a few days.
I think Governor Pataki, with all due respect, a three-term governor here, is not going to go anywhere. Governor Christie is not going to go anywhere. Bobby Jindal is not going to go anywhere. They may stay in the race, but they're not going to be viable candidates at this point in time. I think the two governors that'll stay in, Governor Huckabee will stay in because he's a different base, the evangelical base. I think Bush and Kasich are the two serious governors today that basically could emerge as time goes on.
All right. Ed Rollins, thank you for your time, and thanks for being here.
Great to see you.
Thank you.